Welcome to the Wrestling Stable Show, where you don't join, you're chosen. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. On today's show, we talk about last night's Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling is being broadcast from an empty arena in Tennessee. It is not live, though, and weeks of television tapings have been done for a while. Today, Impact executives and producers have been busy. I won't go into all of the details. There are plenty of places where you can find that information, but due to the allegations against Joey Ryan, he has been released from Impact. Joey, of course, has been featured in a new stable, Cancel Culture. Now Joey has been canceled and fired, and he's being scrubbed from Impact Wrestling. Not only does that affect him, but also the rest of the group, Jake Crist, Katie Forbes, and RVD. So we'll see what they do to kind of inject RVD, Katie Forbes, and Chris back into the shows. But for now, they're removed as far as the cancel culture gimmick goes in that whole stable. This episode started off with Tasha Steelz, accompanied to the ring by Kiera Hogan. She faced off against Nivea, who was accompanied to the ring by Jessica Havoc. Tasha Steelz won with a roll-up. Later in the show, it was announced that Kiera Hogan will go one-on-one next week against Havoc. Deonna Purrazzo was also featured on this episode. We saw her being interviewed by Busted Open along with Jordynne Grace. The Virtuoso, of course, made her debut 2 weeks ago in the closing moments of the show, taking out the Knockouts champion, Jordynne Grace. Then she was interviewed backstage. She said that she did not come to brawl with lower-class people, but to become Knockouts champion. Alicia Edwards confronted Deonna, setting up their match for later tonight, one of the new adjustments for the show. This match against Alicia was Deonna's Impact Wrestling in-ring debut. The Virtuosa made quick work of Alicia, winning via submission with her arm breaker. After the bell rang, Jordynne Grace ran to the ring, but Deonna escaped. Later in the night, it was announced that at Slammiversary, we will see Jordynne Grace defend the Knockouts Championship against the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo. The North, the longest reigning Impact Tag Team Champions of all time, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, were backstage. And Ethan was going on and on about the world's most dangerous man. Ken Shamrock showed up and scared the crap out of Page. But Alexander, his tag team partner, stepped up to the challenge. When Ken came down for the match, both members of the North attacked him from behind on the entrance ramp. They beat Shamrock down, and the match never happened. We saw Moose talking backstage with how becoming champion is a lot like making the Pro Bowl, and how he, as the TNA World Champion, is the real World Champion. So for those who haven't been paying super close attention, the Impact Championship is the main title recognized by Impact right now. But Tessa Blanchard is in Mexico during this whole, quarantine thing and cannot get back to the tapings. So it's been advertised that she will defend in a Fatal 5-Way match, which we'll talk a little bit about a little bit later on. So they did have a TNA one-night special a few weeks ago. And on that special, they brought out the TNA World Championship. Moose has somehow acquired that and is now referring to himself as a real world champion. But he is a fighting champion, even if it's not officially recognized. He's even defended as recently as against TNA original Hernandez. So Crazy Steve went up to Moose and everyone else backstage and just started talking about how that was a joke. He sang and made fun of Moose, and Moose did not take kindly to that. So Crazy Steve was around before, and he went away for a little bit and now has recently re-signed with Impact. And like I said, Moose did not take kindly to that, and he told Crazy Steve that he had just earned a TNA World Championship match for next week. Steve responded by saying that next week he will become the fake World's Champion. Taya Valkyrie, obviously the longest reigning Impact Knockouts champion in history, formerly, with her manager Brava, who she was looking for all night backstage, but I guess he finally found her, or she finally found him right before going through the curtain. So they came out, And their opponent, her opponent for last night was Susie, who most of you will know as Su Yung. This is her alter ego, and they're doing a great job with that. Susie is kind of, lost, and she doesn't really know what's going on. And if something wrong happens, she says that's bad or they're not being nice. And Su Yung is just this insane, extremely scary and dangerous character. So it's nice to see both sides of the spectrum here. And even when Su Yung recently resigned, they did a little bit of great work, great attention to detail, and said that Susie had resigned as well. So Taya did a great job as Susie was coming out, talking smack to the audience like there was a crowd. And then Susie, poor Susie, lost and confused at all times, was even waving to the audience that wasn't there. Bravo, during this match, was able to choke out Susie behind the referee's back. Taya, of course, like I said, was the longest reigning Knockouts champion. And it was cool to see her in the ring and Madison Rayne be on commentary. So Madison Rayne was a former 5-time Knockouts champion. So a lot of Impact Wrestling history just in this match alone. So Susie looked really strong in this one, but was pinned after Taya hit the Road to Valhalla. So this Susie character is one who can kind of take the pins, and obviously an amazing wrestler, always looking strong out there. But the Susie character not as protected as Su Yung. So, that's a good use of her there as well. So after the bell, Taya was talking smack to Susie, really being mean to her, as Susie would probably say. And Susie's best friend, Smiley Kylie Rae, came out to her defense. Now, the big story here is, does Kylie Rae really know and understand that Susie, sweet, lovable Susie, is the same evil, frightening character Su Yung? We're not really sure. And if she does know that, that kind of plays in with her character, how she's always super optimistic. So when Smiley Kylie Rae came out, she super kicked Taya, knocked her out of the ring. These two are definitely on a collision course down the road. So Jimmy Jacobs was backstage, and he knocked on Madman Fulton's door to find out about his new alliance with Ace Austin. Fulton opened the door, but Ace snuck out to answer the questions. Ace said that he makes his own luck, and Fulton was not the weak link of OVE. Ace says that this is all about him becoming the youngest Impact World Champion of all time. So obviously, Madman Fulton a few weeks ago left OVE, had enough of it. Before that, Sami Callihan was gone for a long, long time. And when he came back, OVE tried to reunite with him, and Sami didn't want anything to do with it. So he was the first one to kind of leave OVE. And then Madman Fulton. And then, we saw Jake Crist join cancel culture. And I believe, recently with everything going on, Dave Crist, I think, was released by Impact Wrestling as well. So OVE is definitely no more. But Madman Fulton is not going to the wayside. He is in a great program here with Ace Austin. Ace is definitely one of the participants and one of the front runners to walk out Impact World Champion at Slammiversary. Johnny Swinger spent all night trying to find a partner for himself in Chris Bay. He finally got Rohit Raju to agree to team with him. Johnny Swinger and Rohit teamed with Chris Bay, and they faced Cousin Jake and Cody Deaner of the Deaners, as well as their tag team partner, the reigning X Division champion, Willie Mack. In this match, Chris Bay hit his Baymaster, take on Famouser, for Chris Bay on Willie Mack. Like I said, the current X Division champion, pinning him for the 1-2-3. So you have to believe that Chris Bay is now the number one contender for Willie's X Division championship. So we'll see if that happens at Slammiversary as well. We also see Reno Scum backstage harassing D'Lo Brown. That's going to turn into something a little bit later on. But for this segment, TJP and Fallah Bahh come to his defense, which leads to them setting up a tag match for next week. So next week, we'll see Reno Scum go 2-on-2 against TJP and Fallah Bahh. So at Slammiversary, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The main event is scheduled to be the Impact World Champion, Tessa Blanchard, who has been on quarantine in Mexico with Daga. So hopefully she's able to make it back for this title defense. And she will defend against Ace Austin, who, has definitely been a thorn in Tessa's side. He's actually pinned her, I believe, before she was world champion. Trey, the man who was taken out ahead of his tournament finals to become number one contender that Ace Austin actually won. So Trey never got a fair shot to compete and become the number one contender. And as well as Eddie Edwards and Michael Elgin. Now, these two were originally slated to go against Tessa in a triple threat match for the Impact World Championship, but they never had that match because, of everything going on. So yes, Tessa Blanchard, as of this recording, is scheduled to defend the Impact World Championship at Slammiversary against Ace Austin, Trey, Eddie Edwards, and Michael Elgin. In the main event of tonight's show, we have Madman Fulton with Ace Austin going against Eddie Edwards. Fulton, of course, is no longer with OVE, like we said, and Ace Austin wants to take out one of his opponents 25 nights from now, I guess 24 nights, at Slammiversary. And Madman Fulton is really someone who I think is going to be a big star. He's got a great look. He's great in the ring, and kind of, that Shawn Michaels Diesel kind of connection they have here. And I'm all here for it. I'm here for it. So it's great to see him have this opportunity, not just against Eddie Edwards in general, but to main event this show. So I'm really happy for him. So in this match, Ace Austin attempted to distract Edwards, but was knocked off the apron. Eddie hit the Tiger Driver on the big man, but Madman kicked out. Eddie went for the Boston Knee Party, but Fulton blocked him and slammed him to the mat for the 1, 2, 3. So Madman Fulton, going from kind of maybe being lost or maybe in the shuffle of the mid-card with OVE, now has aligned himself with Ace Austin, a man who was a front runner to become the Impact World Champion. And we could all see 6 months from now what that could lead to. Main eventing this night of Impact Wrestling, and now he has pinned a former world champion. So love to see where this is going and the rest of the build-up of Slammiversary. But at the very end of the show, we saw D'Lo on the phone talking about how he did not like being called a corporate stooge. Of course, he was called that by Reno Scum. When he gets up from his chair, we see the old Aces and Eights jacket on the back of his chair, and we heard that old riff from their theme. So looking forward to see what happens with this over the next couple of weeks. So ladies and gentlemen, we are on the road to Slammiversary, less than a month away. And another one of the big mysteries is which former world champion will return to the company. In all the previews, we've seen someone pour themselves a drink, sit in their chair, and watch kind of a video package of all the people who released in that latest wave from the WWE. I think we had Gallows and Anderson. We had, I think Mike Bennett was in there. I think there might have been someone else. We saw EC3, Eric Young. Both were former Impact World Champions. And now we're getting more information that it will be a former Impact World Champion that will make the return at Slammiversary. So as far as, I have seen EC3 and Eric Young haven't officially gone anywhere. So would love to see really both men return to Impact, where they had a lot of success. So, both men were released and fair game to return. So looking forward to that. So that was the Impact Wrestling show for this week. I'm going to make, going to try every single Wednesday to give you a full show with full results on the Wednesday, the night after Impact Wrestling. And, we'll have as much information and much news going into Slammiversary as we possibly can. So thank you, everyone, for visiting Wrestling Stable, where you don't join, you're chosen. See you tomorrow.